Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel and also the Healing with Homeopathy Substack. Today's video is going to be on tissue salts and the astrology connection. I have been loving learning about tissue salts and the astrology connection. It's been like, I don't know, I'm just so into this right now. I've always really loved astrology and astronomy in general, like learning about, like I can remember as a kid going to the planetarium and being in awe and wonder and love learning that information. And when I was in college, I had taken an astronomy class and it was my favorite class. So this is probably something that another passion of mine that I've always been drawn to. And I had no idea a few months ago that homeopathy and astrology could be something you can combine. And honestly, it's something that I do want to continue to learn more about. But in a basic way, you can learn about it through tissue salts. And tissue salts, I love teaching about tissue salts. I've been using tissue salts myself, like a ton. You might hear them called cell salts or tissue salts, same thing. I have seen such improvements in my own health doing using tissue salts. I've seen it support acute situations. I've been using it because I can hear me. I'm coming off of an acute. I've been using them to support just my own chronic health things that I've been dealing with. And I have seen some extremely powerful things shift that I have not been able to shift for years. And that symptom happens to be the mucous membranes of my bladder. I've had bladder issues since 5 years old, have been really just unfortunately very compromised. So I would get some burning in the bladder from time to time when it fills. So much better than it used to be. I'd say it was 95% better, but this last month or so of using cell salts, it feels like it's almost been non-existent, that symptom, and that is amazing. And that's because it's supporting my mucous membrane so much at a cellular level, at the tissue level. That's what they do. They work on the tissues of the body. And when you take a cell salt, the big difference is between taking, say, calcium in a cell salt form versus calcium in a supplemental form is number one, it bypasses the gut. So the mineral gets absorbed directly into the mucous membranes. So that calcium is going to go not to the gut first, but right to the bones that it needs to, right? If it was Calc Fluor, it's going to go really right to the bones where they need it, or the teeth or wherever, right? And then also it teaches the body thus then how to use that mineral in correctly again. So when you eat those foods that have, say, calc phos in it, you're going to know how to use that mineral better because it comes not only in a crude form of that mineral, but an energetic form also. It combines the crude and the energetics together. So to me, this is like I'm blown away. I just want to go over the main cell salts just so you know what they are. There's Calc Fluor, which is calcium fluoride. Again, not the same fluoride that's in your water that you have to be like, you know, we filter out. That's not the same thing. That's actually fluoride marachicum. So it would be the it's salt and fluoride. So it's natron fluoride or fluoride chlorine. It's together the combination of salt and fluoride, which is actually not good for our body, but calcium fluoride is very good for our body. That's the zodiac sign of Cancer. We're going to go into that in a minute, but that, let's just say calcium fluoride is very good for us. It's naturally occurring in the body. It's naturally occurring in foods, and we absolutely need it to be healthy and to thrive. It's very good for the elasticity of tissues, very good stabilizer of the body. So it's good for elasticity. So like someone like me who has a lot of like lax joints, you would think of calc fluor and silica, right? I have a lot of lax joints, right? My joints are very, very hypermobile. Calc fluor is an essential nutrient for that, for the elasticity, right? You can even think of it like the elasticity of the bladder. I think of my own case, I'll bring in that example, right? To hold the bladder, to hold the uterus in place, right? So it's good for like prolapses as well, right? It's good for calcium is always good for the bones. It's good for the teeth. It's good for mineralization of that as well, calc fluor. So calc fluor is one. Calc Phos is two. Calc Phos is the cell regulator and generator. So it's good for the bones and the teeth and things like that, but it's very good for the cell. It's good for nutrient absorption, helping nutrients absorb. There's Calc Sulph, which is the purifier and the cleanser. So it helps purify like the liver and cleanse the body. It's like a very good detox, actually, Calc Sulph. That's my mineral that I'm lacking the most, according to my zodiac. It's the mineral of Scorpio. Ferrum Phos, which is the mineral for the Pisces, but that's your iron phosphate. Iron phosphate is the blood oxygenator. It's the anti-inflammatory. It's the first remedy, tissue salt you would go to in a fever, actually. If I didn't mention before, Calc Fluor is calcium fluoride. Calc Phos is calcium phosphate. Calc Sulph is calcium sulfur. Ferrum Phos is iron phosphate or phosphorus. Okay. Next is Kali Myrrh, which is a rebuilder in the body. It's like a good, I think of Kali Myrrh as like a good cleanup crew, actually. It like literally like cleans up the mess. So like I think Ferrum Phos in the beginning of an acute, and then Kali Myrrh like comes in to like mop up the mess at the end when there's like a lot of mucus and discharges happening. But Kali Myrrh has been an amazing remedy for me. Kali Myrrh, when you hear the word Kali, Kali is potassium, also has a lot to do with rigidity and duty. Kali, anytime you hear the word Kali, the Kalis or the potassiums are very duty bound, very rigid as well. Kalis are also very rigid, but Kali Myrrh is potassium chloride, so it's this potassium chloride combo. And yeah, it's a good rebuilder, but and it's very good for the mucous membranes, very good for pelvic congestion, very good for the lungs, the eustachian tubes in the ears. It's a good cleaner upper. And it's very good support of the mucous membranes. Caliphos is potassium phosphate, which is very good for, it's a nerve nutrient and a soother. So it kind of soothes the body. It's a soother to the body. It's a nerve nutrient. It's the overworked, burned out, high on edge, high anxiety. You know, they have that strong startle reflex. They jump at every little thing, right? They can't sleep. They have insomnia. That's your Caliphos, okay? That's the Aries, which rules the head as well in the zodiac. The Aries sign, which is around April, rules the head, and makes sense, right? That they have so many issues in the brain. It's actually a nerve nutrient, Caliphos. Then there's Calc Sulph, which is potassium and sulfur, and this is a very good also for cell building, and it's a very good oxygen exchange. And so funny and so interesting. Of course, these cell salts also correlate to different homeopathic remedies, and the remedy pulsatilla is a very rich. Pulsatilla is made from a flower. It's very rich in calcium, or I'm sorry, not calcium, in Kali sulph or potassium sulfate. And it's interesting is that pulsatilla is like a great oxygenator also, and it's a great regulator in many ways. And that there's a lot of parallels between the remedy pulsatilla and the remedy Kali sulph is because pulsatilla is made of Kali sulph, right? A lot of it is found in the plant. So it's so interesting, but it's a great cell builder and a great oxygen exchanger, right? It helps support, brings oxygen to things as well. Just like Ferrum Phos they can work well together, Ferrum Phos and Kali Sulph, because Ferrum Phos oxygenates the blood, where Kali Sulph is like helping that oxygen exchange happen within the cells. Very interesting. Now, Mag Phos, this is a remedy you want to have for pain and for just being more calm. This is magnesium phosphate. It's great for cramps, antispasmodic, but also a nerve stabilizer. So this is your pain. You want to, if there's pain, you want to think of Magphos, especially if there's crampy pain. Magphos is the cell salt or tissue salt that you want to think of. Then there's Nat Myrrh, which is a great fluid regulator. And this one is, you know, the cell salt that has to do with the Aquarius, right? The sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is a water sign, of course, right? And it's very much has a lot to do with governing emotions as well. But natmer is a great fluid regulator. It's actually salt. So natmer is sodium, nats are sodium, so sodium chloride, and it will help regulate whether if there's too much fluid or not enough fluid. Like, so it just regulates the fluid in the body. It does much more than that, but that's all we're going to say about it today. The gnats, anytime you hear the word natrum, they're very sensitive remedies also, very sensitive people. Then there's nat phos, which is salt. Natrum is salt. Natrum, nat phos, so salt or sodium phosphate. So nat phos is sodium phosphate, and this is like your great antacid remedy or acid neutralizer. It literally helps regulate the acidity versus alkalinity in the body. So you're thinking of anything that has a very acidic environment, you want to think of nat sulph. I mean, not nat phos, I'm sorry. And then there's nat sulph. Okay, this is sodium sulfate, right? So nat is sodium, and sulfur, so nat sulfate. And this is actually also a great liver cleanser and excess fluid eliminator. So this is the sign of the Taurus also, this one. And there will be a lot of they can't regulate their fluids, so when they're especially in an environment that's very hot and humid, it really because they can't regulate their fluids already, so when they're in an environment that's very humid and there's so much moisture in the environment, it really aggravates them because they already can't regulate it, right? So nat sulph is very good for that. It's a very good liver detox remedy. It's actually a very good remedy for mold issues. For people with mold, I do recommend it often. And it's also a very good remedy for how do I say, it could support injuries of jabs as well as kali myrrh and silica, which is next. And silica is the only one that stands alone as just silica. It's actually a cell cleanser, it's a tonic, and it's a protector. So silica is a great one. I'll do a separate video on silica as well. So those are the 12 cell salts, and there are also 12 zodiac signs, and I'm going to go over that in a minute. But I also want to tell you about the potencies that I recommend. Most of the time, I recommend a 6x in these cell salts, but there are a few that I recommend 12x, and that's just from clinical experience and of myself and from other homeopaths. And this is Calc Fluor, Calc Phos, Ferrum Phos, and also silica. I would recommend those four in a 12x instead of a 6. Calc Fluor, Calc Phos, Ferrum Phos, and silica 12x. All the others can be in a 6x, but you could take them in multiple potencies. You could do the 12x and the 6x together. You know, it's not going to harm you. Around my cycle, I experimented with using Magphos in a 12x instead, just to help with the cramping, and that was a nice little pickup. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit more about the astrology signs as well, or the zodiac signs, just so we can talk about like which one is which, and so you know which zodiac sign it correlates to. So the Aries, like I mentioned before, the Aries person is going to be likely low or need the cell salt Calc Phos. Okay, they will likely need that nerve nutrient. It's the one of the brain. Okay, it's the Aries rules the head and the brain, and they will actually probably need more of that Calc Phos. Okay. Taurus is more of the cerebellum here, and it actually is the sodium phosphate, so that nat sulph. Okay, so Taurus is that nat sulph astrological connection. They will have trouble with balancing water. They will have trouble with liver detoxification. They will have trouble with, humid environments. They probably will have trouble if they ever have a head injury. They'll probably have trouble with milk and dairy issues. There's a lot more we can go into on that. You can look to my other videos on my paid subscriber Substack, which has videos on each one of these cell salts in pretty good depth. And I also have a tissue salts It's actually called a cell salts course that you could take if you want to learn more. Gemini is potassium chloride, so that's that Kali Mer. Okay, that's the twins, and it rules the lungs, actually, right? So it's that potassium chloride. So it's those two lungs here that we have, and they this will help with the congestion that we have, right? The extra mucus and the congestion in the lungs, right? That's the connection there. Cancer is Calc Fluor, and that actually is very big to do with the breast tissue. So we want to think of it in that aspect. We also want to think of it in, again, the elasticity of the joints and the tissues. And we also want to think about it in the bones and the teeth. And we also want to think about it for extra growths, right? Where the calcium is not getting where it needs to go. So you might have bone spurs or warty like knots or growths and things like that. That can be very prominent in a calc floor person. Maybe their skin might be very saggy. It's elasticity, right? We think of calc floor. Leo is the magnesium phosphorus, so the mag phos, and that's, remember, that crampy remedy. They're going to be very, very crampy. And it's good for to support pain in the body. Virgo is Kali Sulph, okay? So if you're a Virgo, you're probably going to be deficient in Kali Sulph. Again, and Kali is this very rigidity. There's a rigid remedy, and there's also going to probably be some excess mucus. You'll probably see mucus on the front of more of this yellow thing going on in this potassium sulfate or Kali sulf. Libra is the balance of the acidity versus alkalinity. So this is that Nat Phos, right? The Nat Phos helps balance the acidity and alkalinity in the body. So if you're a Libra, you're probably low in that one. Nat Phos. Scorpio is calcium phosphate, or no, sorry. Scorpio is calcium sulfate, which is Calc Sulph. This happens to be my zodiac sign. I am a Scorpio and a Calc Sulph, and this rules the reproductive area. And isn't it interesting that I have had troubles on the reproductive area my entire life, right? And I'm a Scorpio, which rules the reproductive area. I probably need a lot of Calc Sulph in my life. And I also, whenever I have discharges, they have this yellow tinge to them, which is very sulfur. That's why the Kali Sulph has the yellow discharge and the calcium sulph has the yellow discharge, because this sulfur has these yellow discharges. And I have a very strong sulfur component to my life, all my life. I'm actually allergic to sulfur medications as a kid. And I thought I just was a sulfur homeopathically, but maybe I just need more Calc Sulph, because I can feel calcium, like a calc carb, which is calcium, and I can also feel very calc sul I can also feel very sulfur. So maybe I just need both of these remedies, right? Then you have your Sagittarius, which is your silica. Okay, so those people are likely going to be lower in silica, not as resilient people. Capricorn is your calc phosphate, which is calc phos, and they're probably going to need some work with digestion and absorbing of minerals. Silica also has this, like trouble with digestion and absorbing of minerals. Sorry, a beautiful bird just caught my eye. I love woodpeckers. They're so pretty. There's one woodpecker right on my tree right there. Anyway, Calc Phos is going to help with aiding in digestion. It's going to help in aiding in bone growth and tissues, and just aiding in absorption of nutrients and minerals in the gut. It's a very good one. So people with Capricorn are probably going to have struggles in that area. Aquarius is your Nat Mer. So those people are likely going to have troubles with fluid balance. And Pisces is your ferrum phos or your iron phosphate, which these people are likely going to have problems with blood and oxygen levels, or they may struggle with anemia and things like that. Okay, so those are, if I named well, I named every 12 zodiacs, 12 tissue salts. There are actually 33 tissue salts. But these are just the main core 12 that Schussler found, and they are the main core 12 that can likely cover, let's say, all of the ailments in the body, right? That's what Schussler found. He actually was he actually had enough of dealing with, he was a homeopath, and he's like, I don't, oh my God, now these two birds are fighting right here. Sorry, I'm so distracted by things. He actually had enough of being in like dealing with so many homeopathic remedies. He was like, I just want to have like a small amount of homeopathic remedies to deal with. So he just wanted to hone in on these 12 cell salts. Okay, so now if you're low in, say, if you are a Virgo, okay, you're going to be low in that Cali Sulph, right? You're going to be low in Cali Sulph. Okay, for sure, likely. And that's a cell salt that you probably need to take most of your life. I would just probably say you can go ahead and take that cell salt and just see what it does for you. Cell salts take about 3 months to replenish. So don't take it for a week and say, this did nothing. You could take a break from it and take it like 5 days on, weekends off. You could take a week on, week off, but you probably need that nourishment of that Cali Sulph most of the time if you're a Virgo. Um, Now, you will also probably need your bridge salts, and the bridge salts are the salts that you were not in utero with your mother. Like your mother wasn't in utero with you. And that means that there's some interesting information that I'm learning about how we not only get nutrition from food, of course, we get nutrition from light, right? But also the energetics of where the planets are, right? When we're in the world, in that present moment, or when we were growing and as a fetus, actually have an impact on us. So, like when it's Scorpio time in Calc Sulph, right? You're getting more of that Calc Sulph energy from astrologically from the light, like the sunlight, even the plants and things like that. But then there's also you growing and knowing how to use and absorb that, right? So let's take my case. I'm a Scorpio. So my deficiency is in Calc Sulph, right? Because I didn't have that entire time of Calc Sulph in my mother's utero where I would have learned to absorb and assimilate Calc Sulph. I didn't have that in full time. But because I was a Scorpio, the next month or the next zodiac sign is Sagittarius, right? Well, I wouldn't have been in my mother's uterus at all for Sagittarius, and that's silica, right? That's why I've got brittle hair and brittle nails because I don't have enough silica. My body doesn't know how to use and absorb silica well. They also have poor immune systems. They also don't absorb nutrients well. They also, are worse from jabs, right? So I would actually also be deficient in Sagittarius, which is silica. But I also wasn't in utero for Capricorn, which comes next, because there's going to be about 3 to 4 months, depending on if when you were born. I was born early. So I'm also deficient in Capricorn, which is Calc Fluor likely, because I wasn't growing in my mother's uterus at that time either. And this makes sense for my body when I learned this. And then also, the next zodiac sign, which is Aquarius, which is Nat Mer, which is also my moon sign. Moon sign actually makes a difference. That's it's not just about the sun sign, it's about moon signs, and there's other ones to talk about. But the moon is really important. So the Aquarius is my Nat Mer, right? So I would also be deficient in Nat Mer or sodium. I would not absorb sodium correctly, probably. And because I was early, also likely Pisces, which is Ferrum Phos. So you not only want to consider the time that you were born in, the sun sign, I would also consider your moon sign, if you know what your moon sign is that you're born in. And then I would also consider the bridge salts, the salts that you were not born under, like you were not in utero with, like your mother didn't carry you during that time. I would consider those as well. So those cell salts you'll probably need, okay, throughout your life. I hope that was helpful and not confusing. What I'm going to do actually right now is just kind of share my screen because I feel like it might be helpful if I show you a picture. This is right from my cell salts course. So you're getting a little eye into it. This is the astrology connection, but this is that same wheel is right here. Oh, let me change my screen. I'm on red all the time. You want to see, oh, I think you're going to see it anyway because I'm recording on Zoom. That only happens. I'll switch it either way. Um, So you can see now the cell salts, right? And you could see the 12 of them. And then you can see the correlating cell salts and the sign. Now you also likely could need the cell salt that goes on the opposite side. So like if you're a Scorpio here, right, like me, you also might need some nat sulf, right? Because that's the opposite. On the wheel, it would be the on the opposite side. These colors mean something, they all mean something, but on the wheel, it would be the opposite side, right? So you might need the one that's on the opposite side also. So like interestingly enough, I'm doing a lot of energy testing to find out what cell salts I've needed, and Kali Mur, which is the Gemini, came up so much, and so did Calc Sulph. Um, and my body was not really resonating with silica, but was resonating with this, which is the opposite. Even though I'd probably low in silica based on when I was born, it was resonating with this one more. It's just interesting. Um, so yeah, you might need the one that's on the opposite side. So knowing what these deficiencies cause and what they cure can be very helpful. So getting my course could help. This is my course. This is a page in my course. You can also see here, this is probably a better picture of the wheel, but you can also just look up this wheel, right? And find out where, the wheel, what signs, what is the cell salt, what is my zodiac sun sign? What is that cell salt correlated to? And then what are the three bridge salts that I would not have been in utero with? That's the other important thing. So I hope these pictures were helpful for you to kind of get a gauge and an understanding of this. You could take multiple cell salts. That's totally fine. There's not really a problem with that. They're not going to harm your constitutional prescribing, but please check with your homeopath as well. Sometimes if I'm giving a big remedy and a high potency, I might wait a few weeks before I put cell salts in, but sometimes I'm repeating it and it doesn't matter. So it depends. I'm going to stop the share. Hopefully you absorbed this photo. But you can go and grab my cell salts course if you want to learn more. And I hope this video was really interesting and not confusing. Please let me know. I was so excited to share it with you. I love talking about this stuff. I'm gonna absolutely be learning more about not only cell salts and astrology, because I think I kind of got that covered and understand it, but just astrology and homeopathy in general is like I really can feel a calling to learn about these two things, these two passions of mine, excuse me, can actually come together and really support me and my clients. So I'm excited about that. And some people astrology doesn't resonate with, and that's okay. And if it doesn't, we don't have to bring that into your session at all. But I think it's a really good tool to know kind of part of the blueprint of who you are. If you have a lot of blue in your chart, that's a lot of water signs. That means you're going to be really sensitive emotionally, right? So this all really matters. So anyway, just sharing all that with you today. Take with what you'd like. If you want to learn more, you can get my cell salt course. It's only like 30 bucks, maybe 35, something like that. Maybe I shouldn't say that because maybe that's a lot of money for some people. But I think it's a very reasonable price, and it's good for practitioners as well, because if you're a practitioner, you could learn how to support your clients with these 12 tissue salts. Literally, Dr. Schussler was able to heal all kinds of chronic things with just these tissue salts. He didn't even use homeopathic remedies. Like he was like, there was too many remedies. I'm going to use tissue salts. So that's amazing, right? So you can go and grab that. You can always book in a homeopathic session with me. If I feel the need for tissue salts, I will include them. I don't always include them on the first visit. Sometimes it's the second or third. Sometimes I just start with tissue salts in some cases that are really sensitive. You can book in a tissue salt consultation with me as well. That's something you can book in with me. You can join my Substack, Healing with Homeopathy. I'm doing a series on tissue salts. I have done 1 through 6 so far. I'm going to do the next 6 coming up. But you will get the past, paid videos if you become a paid subscriber. So you can join those to learn there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to supporting you, and I would love to know what questions do you have? What do you want to know more about? Because I'm here for that. I'm down for that. And keep me posted on what you want to learn more about. All right. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and please share with others who would find this really interesting. Talk to you guys soon.